Hi everyone, this is Jamie, and we are here for the Astro Priestess Summit, exploring the astrology of 2025 and beyond. And we're exploring the astrology, but we're also bringing in these other wisdom traditions and healing modalities to support us moving through the astrology of 2025, which is really what inspired me to invite in beautiful spiritual guide, Nicy Cedeno, to explore empowering our families of the future through empowering communication through human design. I have had the pleasure to get to know Nisi some over the last several months, and every time I hear her speak about human design, I'm like drawn in. I'm like, yes, I have to learn more. What she shared with me about my own personal human design chart really brings this complement to my own astrological natal chart that brings in so much more understanding to help me understand my own unique template so much more. So I'm so excited to have you here today, Nisi. I want to take a moment just to read your bio so everyone can get to know a little bit more about you. So, Nisi is an intuitive family coach, an oracle of the soul purpose system, and a certified prosperity energy healer with training in quantum human design, energy healing, and spiritual leadership. Nisi lovingly guides parents and individuals on a journey to release limiting beliefs, reconnect with their inner light, and create a legacy of love and empowerment. Her mission is rooted in healing through the heart, finding balance within herself and helping others to do the same. Nisi believes that when you heal, you not only transform your own life, but also ripple healing through your lineage and the collective. They say the only way out is through, and she is here to walk beside you, to light your lantern, and to help you rediscover the fires of your true self. Through her compassionate guidance, Nisi helps you come home to yourself, empowering you to become the change your family and future generations deserve. Wow, Nisi, I am just like lit up with chills, just like feeling into your essence. And I feel like that so beautifully reflects like the essence of who you are and that beautiful light that you are and you ripple into the world. I'm just so beyond delighted to have you here today. And I would just love to, like, I am just feeling so inspired to ask you, like, what is it about this topic? So, families of the future, like empowering families, empowering communication through human design, like what inspired you? What brought you to this topic?
Okay, so I'm going to say that it really inspired me from my own journey. And my journey has been a difficult one where I've had to work through a lot of heartache and work through a lot of things that I didn't like about myself. And there were just moments in life that were just mirrored to me where I could clearly see all the ways that I was not talking nice to myself, not really believing in myself. And I would say in 2020, it was a pivotal moment for me where I hit rock bottom emotionally. And I just knew that I needed to change. I had, at that time, my son was about a year and a half. And I just knew that he was a little older, I'm sorry, but I just knew that I needed something to shift. I needed to change because I knew that the person that I was being is not the person that my son needed. He needed a mother that was whole, that felt good, that was able to guide him. And it's giving me goosebumps as I say it because it still feels so tender in my heart but he needed someone that could really see him for who he was and really guide him and usher him into becoming a resilient, loving, heart-centered young man. And the way I was then was not going to get him there. And so since then, I've been on this journey. I've been on a healing journey. I surrendered to the universe and I said, I'm ready. I'm ready to shift. And when I made that shift energetically, everything started to shift in my life. I found the help, the healing help. I started going through therapy, just to clear and just to start feeling like, who am I? Right. And from there, that kind of like just opened up. Like once I started healing, I was able to remember like who I was at core level, like what are the things that I enjoy. One of the things that I reflected to you, Jamie, before we connected is my love for learning is also your love for learning. And I did not know that before. I had forgotten because I let everything else in life just consume me. And so that journey has really brought me here to my self-empowerment and to want to really, through my self-empowerment, want to empower others. So I am really here as a stand for our children. But I realize that in order to get to the children, we have to really discover and remember who we are so that we can become the guides that our children, that our family, that our communities really need. And as I say that, I get chills because I really feel it in my heart. And so, with my love of learning, I've learned about a lot of things, but human design came to me. And they say, and I truly believe that now, human design comes to you when you need it and when you're ready for it. And when I learned about human design, I wasn't ready. It took another year. But when I learned about it, it's like everything just clicked. So I just, for you and your audience, I just want to just give a brief of what is human design. So human design, traditional human design is a system that was developed in the 1980s by Ra Uru, and it combines, which I love, it combines the wisdom of modern science, astrology, the Chinese I Ching, the Kabbalah, the chakra system, quantum mechanics. Like, has so many things in together, and it's really here to guide us back to our true self. And at its heart, human design is an invitation to embrace who you are without apology and without hesitation. And that is like when I tuned into that, that felt like home for me.
Mm.
And so it's a system, the way astrology is, and you could look up your chart the same way using your birth date, your time, and place. And there's so much that could be revealed. It reveals your energetic blueprint. So that energy that you may not understand or see, but is living within you. They say energy doesn't lie. So when you know your energy, you kind of know like how you're moving in the world. It's also a roadmap to help you like discover your purpose, which is really what helped me discover my purpose. Discover your gifts. What are your challenges? There's so many things that it could really show you. So, in a nutshell, this is how we got here. This is how I got here.
I love this. And Nisi, something that really felt like such a healing balm of medicine to me when you were sharing is I feel like, at least this has been my experience as being initiated into motherhood. And I feel like from talking to other mothers, it's the same. It's like when you're pregnant before becoming a first-time mother, you have this kind of ideal of this is what I want my experience to be like as a mother and for my child. And then you get thrown into life, and it's such an initiation of going into motherhood. And we often have these experiences. I know myself where you can have I know myself, or it's like there can be a lot of shame around. I've not always, I've not always shown up or created the experience that I thought I would in my mind. And it can be so easy to get stuck and shame around that. And something so beautifully that you spoke to is like, how to bring in that self-compassion and that healing to like not get stuck in shame so we can transform and we can like grow into the best versions of ourselves to be the best version of ourselves for the child. And I love that you're speaking to that because I feel like so many mothers that I work with and even my own experience, sometimes there can be like, at least for me, like such a sense of shame that it's like, oh, I don't want anyone to know. And we feel like, oh, like maybe other people aren't having that experience, but when we know they are, like it can just bring it's so much I feel so supportive to bring that self-compassion. So I love that.
Absolutely. And that is definitely like what my path is, to really speak on these things without shame. I did have a lot of shame. I'm speaking about it now because it's a life journey, right? And as we clear and we move through things, and the shame starts like getting less uncomfortable. But yeah, as parents, as mothers, there's a lot of shame because it's not something that we've done. It's not something, some of us may not have been modeled like what it is to be a mom. We don't have a manual when they're born to show us the way. And like for me, I felt like I'm doing everything wrong. Everything that's happening to him is my fault. Like I really felt that, anytime he got hurt, I'm like, I'm this mother. And, so there were so many stories that then I kept adding on. So what I was not really seeing for myself before I had my son really just made it like even stand out even more. Like my son has been my biggest teacher and still is, and he is able to show me so much. And, we say we want our kids to be this, and we have this before they're born, me included. It's like, it's going to be a perfect life. Your kid is going to be perfect. You're going to do this and that. And you have all this thing. You have a wish list, right? And somewhere along the line, like we forget what that is because we let life consume us. And sometimes it just becomes overwhelming with not knowing, with everything that you have to do on a day-to-day basis. And, just having that support, knowing that you're not alone, you're not the only one going through this, could really make a difference because all you need is that. All you need to know is that you're doing it right. It's perfect the way it is. And this is, life is an experiment and we're just living it and we're just learning along the way and just getting that comfortable with knowing, okay, where do I need help and how can I help myself? That is true empowerment to me.
I love that. And what do you see as like what is your vision of families of the future?
Thank you for asking. So excited. Um, So we're moving into a new way of being, right? And the world is shifting, and you can speak on the astrology side of that. The world is shifting and is changing, and we're no longer going to be in this conglomerate that we all have to be the same, think the same. Otherwise, you're not going to accept it into the tribe if you're not the same way, right? That's the way we're moving. So we're moving into individuality, but individuality within the collective, where as a community, everyone stands in their own pillar of light and they're able to contribute their unique gifts to a brighter, more harmonious world. But in order to contribute your gift, you need to know who you are. Like I am just at a stand, I am such a strong stand to knowing who you are at a deep level, right? Because if you don't know your light, you don't know your shadow, right? You're always trying to hide it because you know it, but energetically, you're always trying to hide it. And then that doesn't allow that. What that does is um, you're not authentic, not because you're lying, but you can't be authentic if you don't know what that authentic self is. And so when we're able to strip all of that, my vision as families of the future is so that every family member, and that is, I just want to say, it's not just if you have a child, it's family of siblings and mother and father, every type of family relationship, where you can be who you are and be loved and accepted. then your gifts will automatically come up and then you can contribute to society because you're able to contribute your unique gifts to the world. So um my vision, my wish is so that everyone could be who they are authentically and just stand in that and be loved and accepted. And but it starts by just taking it a step back and seeing where we are now.
Oh my gosh, I love this. And I am like, as you're sharing, to me, I'm like seeing Pluto just went into Aquarius near the end of 2024. And so 2025 is like the first full year of Pluto in Aquarius, and he's going to be there for the next 20 years. But when Aquarius, wherever Pluto is, the opposite sign is also very activated. It's a polarity point. And when I hear you speak, I hear you speak about this Aquarius Leo axis, which is like Pluto and Aquarius and Leo, that polarity point. Leo, the individual, our individual light, our heart, our individual expression, our creativity. Aquarius, how we're bringing that into the collective, how the individual creative expression and authenticity benefits the collective, and how the collective is benefited by each individual person being in their own light, being in their authenticity, sharing their own gifts. And I love it. I am just all about all of this. And this just what a beautiful vision to hold for the world, because I feel it too. This is like what we're evolving into as a collective. And so I would love to know, like, how does human design, how can that support us kind of coming into this?
Yeah, so human design, knowing that it serves as a roadmap, and knowing who you are, it just gives you those little pieces that you can just see yourself from different angles. So human design is not the all, it's a part. So I always see the pie and I see pieces of the pie. So I see astrology. I love astrology. So I see that as being a pie of who you are, your family of origin, your religion, your belief system, like all that creates who you are. And human design is another part of it. And so looking at it and learning your design really gives you so much insight as into, who you really, really are. So traditional human design was really here to activate and wake you up from that slumber, from that unconscious, like not knowing all those facets of you. So the language that it's used is to really get you like thinking like, okay, what is a projector? And I'll mention the energetic type shortly, but the language that was used was really here to really wake you up. And that was the part that was a little hard for me because I'm a projector. And as a projector, when I heard, you're here to wait for invitations, and that felt like so hard for me. But it's more than that. And that's just the first step. So quantum human design is still human design, but it was crafted by Dr. Karen Curry Parker, who worked and studied under Ra Uru Hu. And it takes the original system and takes it to a whole new level. So once you've, woken up and deconditioned, like what's next, right? Like where do we move from there? So quantum human design is really here to empower us by using high vibrational language, and we could redefine ourselves and on a potential level and, with manifestation and hearing, you want this. If you don't have the right story, if you can't tell the story of who you are, it's going to be hard for you to attain that which what you want. So quantum human design and human design in general is really here to help you rewrite the story of who you are in such an empowering way that it eliminates self-doubt, it gives you confidence, and it brings empowerment. So,
Oh my gosh, this is just giving me chills, and it's making me think too. One of the big astrology transits this year is Uranus, the planet of the higher mind, right? The planet of the great awakener, the planet of freedom and liberation, is moving into Gemini for the first time this year. And then it's going to retrograde back into Taurus. But I was just like, you just made a light bulb go off for me on Uranus going to Gemini is like awakening. It is like that higher vibrational communication. Uranus is a planet that like corresponds with like the quantum realms and the quantum nature of reality. And going into Gemini, the sign that's all about the mind, thought, communication, story. I'm just like, wow, I feel like you are really like on the wavelength of Uranus, the higher mind, the great awakener, going into Gemini, which is about really how can we activate new quantum realities for ourselves through like the higher vibrational languaging and really like shifting the stories, which we have to get to like such a deep level to like really like reprogram those stories and work on our conditioning, which I know that was something you wanted to speak on too, was like,
Yeah.
yeah, like how to the conditioning.
Yeah. So we spoke about what the future is, and
Yeah.
we said we have to bring it to the currency of right now, right? Because we have to think of the future, but then you have to see where you are now. And conditioning is a big topic of human design, and it's defined by thoughts, beliefs, mindsets, habits, and patterns, often that start from childhood. And even, you're born with that mindset and you don't even know, right? And it has a significant subconscious and conscious influence in the story that we say about who we are, who we perceive to be. So to give your viewers and to give you like conditioning in human design, like where do we look at, so that the first step is just knowing, right? The first step to anything is to just be aware. And that awareness later on then could be developed, contemplated, and then have love for those parts. And then once the love comes in and the acceptance that comes in, then by natural default, then the deconditioning starts. It's hard to decondition what you don't know. So deconditioning, there's five, and first one being openness by center. And in human design, there's nine centers, and each center holds a certain energy. So where places where there's openness, where if you're familiar with human design, I'm not going to show the chart right now, but wherever it's not colored in, that means it's open. And those are the places that you are more sensitive to the world around you.
Mm.
So if you have an emotional open emotional solar plexus, if that center is open, for example, let's say that's mine, that makes you an empath. That makes you an emotional empath. So there's a lot of conditioning for me where that's where the people pleasing came in, because I feel so much from the world around me that it is easier for me to please others so that I don't feel the wrath, the energy that comes my way. So that's conditioning by openness. And you can look at each center and see where that's open for you and what the theme of that center and how that's played out in your life. That's how it's been played out in my life. Then you have imprinting. So that's neurobiology, and that's the family that you were raised. So the way your family behaved, how you were treated as a child, that influences the way you think of yourself and even the way you parent, your child. So for example, if you were raised by a parent who's bitter and questions their value and they were exhausted, then you grew up in that energy field and you will be imprinted by that.
Mm. Oh my gosh. Amazing.
Yeah. And then you have intergenerational family patterns. So you inherit part of your human design from your grandparents. So you have parents, if you have parents that have not resolved their core issues with their parents, then when you're born, that dynamic that is split and you're receiving some of that energy now is being played out again into your story. So when you learn to address your needs and your family's needs and your kids' needs, then you can start shifting the generational energy patterns. Then you have ancestral lineage, and these are, we carry up to 14 generations of memories on our protein codes that regulate our DNA. And sometimes our fears, thoughts, anxieties, our reaction to life are preconditioned based on our ancestral lineage. So, you know, learning how to show up in the world, learning more about ourselves, that um, shifts back into the generations before and starts healing. So as you start healing, you start healing your ancestral lineage. It starts going back. And then the last one is life experiences. So you're influenced by the way that what life throws at you, whatever happened to you in your general life, that influences you. So those are the first steps, and just knowing them is really the first step to the deconditioning process. Yeah.
I love that. And I'm like so curious, right? Like, because one of the things, like one of the avenues that our conditioning comes out through and such a like like a daily practical life thing is our communication. So, I mean, that's like the one area, especially now that I'm like so blessed to have my parents live, so much support with my parents around raising, helping do caregiving with my baby. But I'm finding that now that I've had a baby, I'm with my parents a lot more, that it's like, oh my gosh, those conditioned patterns of communication with my family, like from childhood, like come out. And so I'm just curious, like about that, like around that link between like, our conditioning and our communication, and then how we can shift that, right, for
Right.
this like empowerment of our family. Because I'm one of the gifts I am noticing around this is it's like, whoa, like there I'm like speaking like I was when I was a teenager to, and it's like, but it's bringing the awareness so I can shift it and then not, like not pass that down. So yeah, I'm just curious about like where that communication comes in.
Yeah, so that I thank you for asking that question because it really ties everything in. So life experiences and the stories that were told and the imprinting, all of that comes together. And I would say the first step is knowing your human design chart, but you have to start somewhere. And I am a Taurus, Mercury, going back to astrology. So I like to have things, more grounded, and I like to start somewhere. So I'm going to start just today by speaking on the five energy types and their corresponding communication styles. And just knowing that once you know what your energy type is and how you communicate best, it empowers you to know what to ask, what you need. What do you need in when you're speaking to someone? What are the things that are a little harder for you? What does your son need? What does your partner, your parent need? Because we all have different needs, and sometimes we don't know what they are. And that's when you start hearing, like, no one listens to me, no one understands me, because they're not understanding you and your energy need. So in human design, we have five energy types, and I will just brief on them. The first energy type is manifestor. And in quantum human design, they are the initiators. So if you can start seeing that, you can start feeling into the energy shift on that. And initiators are the trailblazers of the world. They're here to bring new ideas and energy into existence, and they make up about 9% of the population. So you don't have a lot of manifestors. If you don't understand the manifestor energy, because you didn't grow up around them, it's kind of hard to know how to communicate. And so manifestors are here to initiate, right? And when they speak, they have an energetic motor connection to their throat. So when they speak, they don't really need other people to invite them in. They could just have a conversation and they are being heard because they have that running energetic motor that goes to their throat. And when they speak, they are, more their preferred way of speaking is action, right? To act and like, what are we going to do? How are we going to organize, and then get to doing, right? Then you have your generators, and those are called the alchemists, and they make up about 35% of the population. And alchemists are the steady builders, and they make up 35%, like I said, of the population. I'm saying it again. And they're really here to they have such strong workforce energy. They have an activated sacral that allows them to really keep going, right? When they respond accordingly. And so when you look at the generator, the way they communicate is they don't have the difference between the initiator, and I'll keep going that way. They don't have an energetic connection to their throat. So when they speak, they are really here, they are really needing to move energy because they have so much energy around them that there has to be a way that it moves. So when generators have a conversation, a lot of the times their conversation could be just to move through the energy. Or it could also be a sounding board where they just need to hear themselves to be able to process that information. And when you start seeing how the different types, we'll break it down again once I go through the five. You can really start seeing how everyone is talking differently and no one's talking the same, so it's hard to like hear each other. Then you have manifesting generators. And manifesting generators are a blend of initiators and the generators. And they're also about 35%. And in quantum human design, we call them the time benders. So time benders, yeah, right? Like you see, that's your type.
Yeah.
Doesn't that feel good? Because you have so much energy and you're here to do like so many things and um experiment here and experiment there. And where the generators are doing things like maybe one step process, you're here, you're probably having five projects at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Um, so the quality that we pick up from the manifestor is that manifesting generators have a connection, a motor connection to the throat. So when you speak, you're also speaking and you don't need to really be invited in, and you could just have conversations and they're being heard, right? The generator part of the conversation of your way of speaking is um, generators, and I didn't mention that before, they have their activated sacral. And so when generators speak, they are best to connect to their sacral. It's best if you speak to them with a yes, no question. Are you hungry? Yes, no. Uh-huh, uh-uh. There's a sound that generators make, manifesting generators and generators, which is uh-huh, uh-uh. A lot of, I'm not a generator, so I'm not going to say a lot of us, but a lot of generators and manifesting generators, that was taped down because you were told you can't say uh-huh, you can't say uh-uh, is not acceptable, right? So then you start closing that part, but that's really the part that is here to help you navigate through the world. So if you wake that part of yourself again and you allow yourself to access that and be okay with uh-huh, uh-uh, you can, it's almost like you can get anything out of them because they're saying their truth. The truth is coming from that point.
Mm.
And so that is the blend. When you speak to an initiator, don't ask them yes or no questions because they're going to go into their mind. That's not their natural way of speaking. And so when you speak to an initiator, ask them, I'm wondering how you feel. I'm wondering if this feels right for you or not, because then they could access other parts of themselves. Moving down to projectors, or orchestrators. So if you see that, I feel better about that because then I'm like, okay, it's a symphony and we're moving it along. So we're the natural guides and we make up about 20% of the population. So we also do not have a connection, a motor connection to the throat. And the most important thing with projectors is in order for them to give their beauty of guiding others and knowing things, you have to be invited in, right? So someone needs to say yes to what you have to say. Because if I start telling you all the things that I see and all the things, you may not want to hear that. And, it may just feel like it's annoying you or you may think that I feel like I know it all, no one asked me type of thing. So it's really important for projectors to learn that. And that was the hardest thing for me. Like, oh, I have to wait for an invitation. Like it just feels so disempowering, right? Because it depends on others. But when you are able to work through that and just know, I know that I have a wealth of information, but if I speak when I'm not ready, when it's not ready to be heard, that will create bitterness in me because I feel like I'm not being heard. Like no one cares, no one's hearing me out. But when someone invites you, then it's like you could say, "Oh, your beauty." So you inviting me to speak this event, you gave me the invitation to say all of this, and that felt good. Um, and so when we know these things, we're like, okay, this is how my energy moves. It's not meant to disempower me. It's meant to just show me how what it is that works for me better. And the way projectors communicate is also moving energy. I need to move energy because I don't have that life force energy like manifesting generators and generators. So I need to be able to move that energy. And I also sometimes need just a sounding board so that I can hear myself speak, like I said with generators, and then not get advice, but just allow someone to help me process out loud what it is that I'm feeling. And then we have the calibrators or the reflectors. The reflectors are 1% of the population.
In
In
one
fact,
person?
1%. Yes, I have
Okay.
not met a calibrator myself. But calibrators or reflectors, calibrators, the quantum human design. So they're here to calibrate the energy of the population. And they make up less, or about 1%, and they act as mirrors and they reflect just the health and the energy of their environment back to those around us. And the way they communicate best is also with just a sounding board or just moving energy. So to put it all together, I'm going to round it out in two ways. So first, I'm going to use the five energy types in terms of a theater. I like this, so I'm going to use the same. It's been used before. So if you think of the initiator, that's the screenwriter. So he has all the creativity, or he or she, they have all the creativity and they create the play. And then you have the generators and the manifesting generators, and they um, are are responding to this beautiful play that they've read, and now they want to be the actors. And so they are the ones acting. They're the ones moving, and they're also the ones putting the production together, the lighting team, the camera team. Those are the generators and the manifesting generators. And then you have the projectors, and those are the directors, making sure that everyone is doing their part, and the reflectors are the critics. So they're seeing like how this projection was put. So that's in a nutshell, the five energy types. And then to recap, again, this is my Mercury in Taurus. Speaking out, I like to bring it all together. To recap, there's three different types of communication when we're talking in the context of human design. You have planning and organizing, and that's manifestors and manifesting generators. And then you have talking and sounding board, talking slash sounding board, and that's for orchestrators, calibrators, and sometimes alchemists or generators. And then you have talking to move energy, and that's orchestrators, calibrators, and alchemists. In transition in human design is the projectors, the reflectors, and the generators. And, why is this important? If you are in a household, right? And let's say I'm going to use, if you don't mind, I'm going to use your household. Your son is still very small, but you are a manifesting generator and your son is a generator. And you're the type you just want to get things done and you want to move on to the next one. And then you have your son and he's like talking and talking and talking. And you're like, oh my God, this is so much because it's a lot, you don't have that same patience to sit through that. So how can we work through that? How can we coexist? Just knowing that your son needs to be acknowledged. And you also know that it's important for him to move energy, right? but how can you empower yourself? Finding ways to mix the two together. So when your son is, moving around, you're like, okay, let's clean up, let's move this. So you're moving your energy as he is talking and expressing himself. And that could be a way. I'm just giving one example of the many ways of, how we can use communication to help our families get their energy needs met so that they can feel seen, heard, and loved in an authentic way.
I love this. This is such empowering knowledge to have because he's just starting, really with like the verbal language development. So as he starts to develop more and more and more, this is just amazing to just go ahead and have that knowledge up front of this is how I can best support him to be heard and feel seen and acknowledged and understood because we can already tell looking at his astrology chart, he's this beautiful Leo energy, like just lights up the room, so much like vitality and life force energy and enthusiasm. And we can tell that like already that like, ooh, he is gonna love to talk. Like that's already been very apparent to us. So knowing this about his human design and how I can support him as his mother, I love this.
Yeah, and you can support yourself too in this because, just teaching him these language and just asking him, do you need to move energy? Do you need to speak to move energy? And then he'll start learning like, okay, this is what I need right now. And you're empowering him. But you could also empower yourself by saying, okay, mommy can't right now. Because if you don't have that capacity, if you are tired, if you can't if you're busy, you can't show up fully for him, right? So you have to know where you are because when we are tired as a parent, we default to what we know. We know the right thing. We know that we want to show up for them, but when we're tired, we can't really fully show up. So you get to empower yourself and say, "Hey, mommy is, you know, whatever it is, mommy is tired or busy in this. Can we set time so that we can, you know, I can listen to you and I can give you that time that you need." And then he feels heard. And then he knows, okay, not now, but in 10 minutes, we're going to sit together. And that gives you the time that you need to regroup yourself and get the energy, the life force energy that you need so that you can give him that attention.
I love that. And because he's a generator, is that
Yes, he's a pure generator. Yeah.
asking like the yes or no questions is
Yes.
going to be important.
But that's natural for you, right? Because you're already, you may have to tap in to see if that has been, that's where the human design based on what your parents are. Let's say your mother or your parents are projector, for example.
Yeah.
That's not my way of speaking. So my innate way would never be to ask you yes or no questions. So now you're growing up asking me asking you, tell me about these things. And for you, it's really hard to like get into that sacral. So you have closed down that part of you. So first, you have to see if that part of you is still alive or if you have to bring that up. And then ultimately, that's a natural way of you and him communicating.
Wow. And I just had a light bulb go up because another family member the other day, I forgot. I was just making a simple decision, like to me, like a yes or no decision on something. And it was like very tired. And if they were like giving me a very long explanation of all the different like possibilities, and I kind of just said, like, I just like don't have the capacity for all of the long explanation about everything. I was like, just like which one is it? And
Yeah.
that's so funny because that like
Yeah.
actually just wanting, I was like, I just want a yes or no. Like I'm overwhelmed
Yeah.
by the amount of information about like every possibility here.
Yeah, and we're all living in this world like that, and we don't know exactly what we need. So, the more we know that, you could say to your, I just need, it's better. Communication for me is better of a yes, no. I will be able to tune in and give you a better response. And that's how you empower yourself. And the way you're doing that, as you do that, you're modeling that for your son. You could tell him these are the ways you do it, but he'll learn the most when he sees that modeled in you.
I love that. And it's this amazing reminder too that like understanding we all have these different ways of communicating and to know what works best for us and to be able to communicate that. And also that we don't have to make others wrong for
Yeah.
having a different style as well. Because I was kind of like in that moment with that family member, I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, like why do they always do that? But it's like they probably have a different human design signature, and of course their astrology too, but they the human design like this just really is resonating for me with this. They probably have a different signature, which is like that's their thing, and I just have a different one. I don't have to like have a judgment about it or make them wrong. It's just knowing that's their style and this is my style.
Yeah, and you can show up for people authentically because when you're ready, you could say, like, okay, this is however it feels good to you, but this is the way I communicate. So if you want to get an answer from me, basically, this is how, best to serve me. And vice versa, you can best support them in the way that works more for them. So for me as a projector, it has been so enlightening, which is why I really wanted to speak on this, because now I tell people, I'll call my sister, I need a sounding board. I need to say this out loud so I can figure it out. And my sister, one of my sisters, I've been talking to her a lot about human design, so she understands that now. And she's able to give me that support. So rather than me feeling disempowered, because, before if I would say something, if I'm speaking to a manifester or a manifesting generator, they feel like they need to resolve something for me because they're action oriented. Meanwhile, me not knowing, I just need to speak this, I just need to talk it through. And so that's where the empowerment comes because we get to ask for what we need rather than assuming that other people should know what it is that we really need to
Mm.
be loved, seen, and heard.
Oh, this is so powerful. And I'm just like thinking about how much harmony, this creates by just having this awareness and then being able to like bring it into our lives.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It lights me up with excitement.
And just thinking, it's like if you're an initiator, a manifester, and then like you have a projector child that like you really like have that awareness that you might not realize that it's like, oh, just like speak up when you want to, but that they're the projector child is gonna like need that invitation. So to make conscious effort to like invite them in to share and their thoughts. Like, I love this.
Thank you. I'm feeling seen right now. I'm feeling seen. And, human design, it was so important for me because when I learned my chart, I'm a projector, but my son is a manifestor. So it's funny because it's the other way around.
Yeah.
So how do I allow him to be who he is? And then how do I also speak to him in a way that I am being invited in, so I'm not pushing him. So it's a dance and it's about learning and learning his style and learning, what he's here, who he's here to be, so that I don't impose my way, not purposely, but I don't impose and thinking we think that our child, our family, we're like everyone's the same, but no, we're all so different. And so it's been my lifelong mission to want to know him myself, want to know him, and then really want to know the people around me because I want to be able to show up in the way that feels good, to each. I want to see people because it's my gift, but it's also my desire. Excuse me, I really want to see people for who they are and see them thrive and just, be there for them. So,
Oh, this is amazing. And it's really making me think, like we can for example, of astrology, like it's like, I'm an Aries sun and a Pisces Mercury. So the way I communicate isn't a very Mercury Piscean way, but it's even like I know lots of actually Aries suns and Pisces Mercuries, and we still have, even though there's some similarity around the way we communicate, we still have differences in our communication style. And then it's like if you bring in the human design with that, there can be some more understanding of, oh, like same signature, but there's still some difference as well. So this is so essential. And I just really feeling inspired by it because, with Mercury is the closest planet to the sun, and it's one of
Mhm.
the closest planets to the Earth, Mercury being the planet of communication, Venus being the planet of, relationship and harmony and connection. And it's like really that communication is such a big piece into how do we have healing? How do we like the communication is like the avenue, like communication creates more connection or it shuts down connection. This is like Venus and Mercury working together. And the more harmonious communication and connection we have, this is just like the foundation for creating this new paradigm. And I feel like it's just so essential to part of this collective shift is really healing our communication patterns. One of the things since becoming a mother, especially now that my baby is a toddler and really in this age of like starting to understand so much like cognitive development, the language, and I really have started to try to like just more contemplate. It's like, why do I do things the way I do? Like my way of being in the world, how much of it is from my own conditioning versus like maybe is it more my essence or is it more of my conditioning and little things around like yeah, like for example, like my parents were very like we're not into messes at all. So I have this really like around, and I have a Virgo South Node. So that's
Mm.
part of what I'm healing in this lifetime is not being so like, oh my gosh, everything has to be neat and organized and all the time. And to notice, like sometimes I have that constriction because talk
Mhm.
like to me, like being a baby and a toddler, like it's so amazing for brain development and just like development, let him make a mess. Let him get messy. Let him tip that drink over. Let them slosh their hands in the smoothie and get it's like you can clean it up and to notice that initial like kind of I have because that was my own conditioning.
Mhm.
And then to realize like I can change. I can choose to be a new way. This is fun. Making a mess is fun. And then like the cleanup is fun after. And so to realize to disrupt because I notice with my parents, they're very, and I'm not like trying to
Mhm.
speak negatively. They're so amazing. They're such an amazing support, but they're very quick to be like, oh, we can't do that. We got to clean that up. And it's like to me to actually notice that was my conditioning and to choose another way. And it's communication. It's what I'm
Mhm.
communicating to say, oh, I'm curious. What happens if you tip that drink over? And oh, I'm curious. What happens? You throw the food off and you hear the sound of something hitting the floor. Like they're learning. And so
Yeah.
it's been so, to me, it's been fun. I have Venus and Gemini, so I'm like learning is fun. I know you said my human design
Mhm.
but also reflects that to just all the tiny little ways that are so automatic that I never would have had a second thought about before. But now that I have a baby, it's like, wait, why am I the way I am?
Yeah.
Communication is so much the avenue that it comes through. And so
Mhm.
I've been doing a lot of like, let me choose to explore what it's like to be and to communicate in a different way. And it's like, and I actually, that's so funny because you mentioned the like experiential is
Mhm.
also part of my human design
Yeah.
template. I mean, it's just so fun to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, it's fun to me as well because it becomes like just a discovery. Um, human design is not meant with any of the systems, they're not meant to constrict us. They're meant to really expand us. And how can we learn from them? And how can we just explore? We're speaking the same language because we're very exploratory learners, so it feels good. But just even knowing that, then you feel better because you're like, okay, this is part of my design, and I get to just explore even more instead of feeling bad because you think you failed. You didn't fail, you were just experimenting, and that's
Oh,
the
I
shit.
love this. Yes, you're so speaking my language. And I feel like this might be a beautiful time to share about this amazing free gift that you're offering everyone who's tuning into the summit.
Yeah. So I put together a document with the five energy types, and I listed each design, their strategy, their communication styles, and some tidbits to help the parent just journal, some journal prompts to help you really tune into your, let's say, generator son as a manifesting generator mom or dad or parent. And then I added some kid-friendly affirmations that you can have your child recite. And if you don't have any kids, remember that we all have our inner child. So actually, I love this even for myself because it brings me back to when little Nicy, and when she didn't feel heard. And, so these affirmations are so empowering for parents and the whole family. So this document is your beginning stage to your human design journey. And I hope you like it. I made it, you know, uh, bite-sized information, my grounded again Taurus self, so that you can have something that you can just go through and start.
Oh my gosh, what an amazing gift. And I mean, I'm thinking could even, even if you don't have a child, like you said, we all have an inner child, but even, could think about it with romantic partners or
Oh, yeah.
coworkers or friends, anyone
Exactly.
in your life. I love this. And Nisi, do you have any offerings that you want to share with others? And we'll have like your links, how people can connect with you, but anything around how others can connect with you and any of your beautiful offerings that you wanted to share.
So as a 1-3 for whoever is out there that knows, I get into a lot of things, and you mentioned it earlier. I have a plethora of offerings going from soul purpose readings to quantum human design and family coaching. That is my passion because, as we spoke before, I'm really here to empower the kids, but it's through the parents. So that is my number one passion. I also like to get into the energetics and do prosperity, energy healing. Again, is changing our. If we could change the story and if we can heal that, then we can really manifest that we want. So I will give you, you can email me directly. We can have a conversation and we can explore more how I can guide you.
Oh, I love this, Nisi. You are such a beautiful, radiant light in the world. And I so love the
Mhm.
vision that's on your heart about creating this new paradigm for our families, for our future. It is just, I feel like this is what we're evolving into the collective. So just thank you so much for being here and shining your light and being this guide and this way shower into, as into this new paradigm that we are birthing together. It's such a blessing to have you here. I'm feeling so inspired by this conversation, and I'm really like I've wanted to learn like about human design for so long, but you have got me so like yes to it that I'm like I need to commit to learning more because it is so essential to know, I feel. And so is there anything else like perhaps I'm feeling inspired to ask you is are there any grounded practical advice for us as we're navigating the energy of 2025? Like, do you have any grounding or grounded practices, strategies, techniques that you like to bring into your daily life that you want to share with everyone here?
I just want to say, just connecting to yourself, just connecting to your energy. And I have a post-it right in front of me, and I'm gonna say just my mantra is, I am that I am, and I love myself.
Mm.
And as we love ourselves, we love others and we love this world. So
I
I
love
am that I am. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. So
it.
appreciate it.
It's been such a blessing. Well, thank you, everyone that's here. Be sure to sign up for Nisi's free offering. Check out her other offerings through her website and reach out if you're feeling inspired. And we're so looking forward to seeing you and all the other talks. Bye for now, everyone.
Thanks.